Hey, welcome to another edition of Blue Jay Banner. Today, I'm Tim Kruger on this Monday, this dreary Monday here in Omaha. I'm back. I'm back home finally. Thanks so much for the great support you guys have given us the first couple of weeks. It's been awesome, and we're really excited what we're going to build here going forward on this show, and the production value and so forth that's coming here very, very soon. First up, I want to thank our sponsor, Infusion Brewing Company. A great time to check out all the products they have. I know when I was out traveling on the up great northwest part of the country over the weekend, I had several craft beers and fusion beers because that part of the country is known for it. I tell you what, Infusion Brewery is right there with them as far as quality, flavor, the different kinds they have. They have some great seltzers now too, by the way. So check out everything they have at infusionbrewingcompany.com. Check them out. Go. They have a great tasting room that's open Tuesday through Sunday. Check all that out, and I think you'll be really happy with the product they have, the great atmosphere there. And as we said, they're a big supporter of Blue Jay Banner, and we will have some events throughout the year at Infusion. So thanks so much for all their support moving forward. We're gonna kind of just get everybody updated here. We didn't have a show Friday, so we're gonna kind of get everything updated. Um, as far as what's gone on over the weekend, and we're going to talk a little bit of men's hoops here as well. The first thing I want to start off, obviously, is our tremendous volleyball team. Finally got to go up against another squad rather than, they had the blue and white scrimmage and they've had practices and they've never really gone up against another team. So they took on Colorado State, a really good team out of the Mountain West or Pac-12 or whatever the hell they are nowadays. I don't know. That part of the country with their conferences is so messed up. But volleyball got on the court Saturday, and it was great to finally feel that home court atmosphere and so forth. And first of all, it's an exhibition game, so it's a little different in volleyball. They predetermined before they started that they were going to play 5 sets because obviously a team like Colorado State comes all the way over here. They just don't want to have 3 sets and be done. It's an exhibition game. It's a growing game, um, and so they had a 5 set match. The Jays took the first three, 15, or excuse me, 25-13, 25-19, and 25-18. Um, and then they had two more, they played 2 more sets. So in a normal match, the match would have been over. They played 2 more sets where Colorado State won 25-15 and 17-15. Now, uh, the Jays played a lot of players. Okay. So I don't have the whole stat breakdown of who was in on the fourth and fifth sets, but I assume the players saw a lot of action that probably aren't in the regular rotation and so forth. So, because it's a good time to grow and it's very similar to a exhibition NFL game, right? You might get some starters and second teamers out there the first half, but the second half is just constantly, guys that are probably not going to make the team or guys that are trying to make the team, guys that are trying to make an impression. Same kind of thing here. Obviously, everybody's on the team here, but they're younger players who are getting their feet wet in Division One volleyball. Coach Rosen, after the match, talked about defense and the defense. He goes, we're going up against each other in practice and so forth, and it's hard to score. It's hard to score with our team because we've really stressed defense, and I think that's probably not that obviously Coach Booth didn't stress defense, but she did. Of course she did. But you don't have a team as highly ranked as Creighton without having a good defense. But I've heard Brian say that half dozen times here, going on start of practice and then going into these exhibitions is defense. And I know the one practice I was at that they were really, really concentrating on blocking, on defense, on digging. So he said it really, you could see the frustration a little bit in Colorado State because they were having a hard time scoring against us. And he goes, that's going to pay dividends. He also said, hey, we got some stuff on film now we can look at to get ready for Saturday. Saturday, it's coming up fast, man. This seems like August just was gone in a snap of a finger here. We're already down to the latter part of August by the end of this week, and they open the season against number two Penn State over in Lincoln. Uh, 4 p.m. start, and the game will be on FS1, so that's awesome. So either head over to Lincoln, go watch the match, or check it out on FS1 at 4 p.m. on Saturday against number two Penn State. And we talked a lot about this early gauntlet, so we're going to continue to talk about it here as we move forward in the season. Um, then let's check in with the soccer teams. The men have not uh, begun their season. They'll begin their season next week. And we've talked about their gauntlet as well, going on the road, playing Florida International, Florida Atlantic, and Michigan in a stretch of like 9 days. So they had another friendly with Bradley, but they're going to kick off their season this week at Florida International. And then the women are into their season a little bit. The women are 1-1. We haven't really talked about since we kind of gave you a little preseason outlook on the Jays women's soccer team. They went to Oklahoma, lost 4-1, but they had an exciting win yesterday, 2-1. Um, Ariana Mondiri scored a goal in the 90th minute. It was a penalty kick. So that gave the Jays a 2-1 win over Kansas City. So the Jays have evened up their schedule at 1-1. And they're going to get their home opener going here on Thursday against Iowa State. And that's a 6 p.m. match at Morrison. So check out the women Jays uh, as they kick off their home season on Thursday, 6 p.m. So that should be very, very exciting. All right, let's move on to basketball. We talked about, we didn't really get into when we did our preview with Mike Rochon. We didn't really talk a lot about Alexa Dimitrievich. I don't. It's as close as I can come to pronouncing it. Um, he's on campus. You may have seen a lot of social media posts from him, tweeting out, all decked out in Jay's gear, hat, shirt, everything, all decked out that he's here and so forth. And there was some word last week that he was on campus. If you go to bluejabanner.com, you'd have known that. At any rate, he's here, 7'1". He's listed as a freshman, and much needed backup, obviously, with Owen's knee injury. That's you're getting various timetables now, but the best scenario I've heard or seen is mid to late October, where he'll be back full strength. So hopefully we'll have him back by the beginning of the season. Hopefully we'll have him back for those two exhibition games that we've talked about a little bit. But Alexa's 7-footer, European. Go online. You can see all kinds of footage on him. But the big news is that this week that the Jays signed another European to play on the team this year. That's Karam Conan. He's about a 6'9", kind of hybrid forward 4-5 player. I people asked me a while back, a couple weeks ago, to describe him. I would say, again, as much as you can glean from international film and so forth, just looks a lot like Martin Krampel when he was here. Almost the same build, almost same size. Let's hope he had the skill Martin had and plays as well as him. Now, how will obviously Alexa is going to be a backup center. We know that. Karam's in a crowded 4 spot, right? You've got 3 guys who can play the 4. Isaac Trout, Jackson McAndrew, Jason Green, obviously. And then, you could slide Hunter over there too. But I think right now, I'm sorry, Hudson Greer over there. But I think Hudson Greer is probably going to end up more being a 3 right now. But again, we say this a million times. Mac's system is pretty much positionless 1 through 4. Um, it's more the when we talk the 1 through 5, it's more defensively who can guard. Jason. That's been Jason's big calling card is he can go out and guard guys at the 2, 3, 4, even 5. Okay. Jackson's been more up until this point centered on the 4s. Once in a while he gets switched on a 3. I think looking at Hudson, he can probably do that as well. Um, he can probably go 2 through 4. Um, Isaac Trout's basically been a 4-5 kind of guy to guard. So we'll kind of see how this all shakes out. That's going to be the biggest leap is defense. It's going to be a big leap because he just got here on learning the offense. So he's going to be way behind everyone else. Much as, like we mentioned through the early practices and workouts this summer, that the guys returning were way ahead of the Nick Graves and Swartzes and so forth because they just knew the system. Even a guy like Josh Dix, there was times where he just got that split second of, okay, where do I got to go? So I think it's going to be a learning curve for him. They haven't listed a class for him yet, but we'll see. I think that all has to do with the Europeans and when they play and how many games professionally have they played and how much eligibility will they have left. It took us, what, 2 years to get Fedor, to get a situation where we actually know Fedor has 2 more years. Um, and the other point somebody made to me the other day was basically the Europeans, we're trying to think of some Europeans that went all the way through to their final year here. Most of them have left early, either to go play back in Europe or to take a shot at the NBA or G League or what have you. So it'll be interesting to see how these two guys, along with Fedor, actually, where they end up and how they progress and so on and so forth. Uh, Somebody, you may be wondering about the roster and how it was only 15 players. Apparently, this was a Mac had talked about this in an interview that they were given an exemption for Josh Townley Thomas, so he will be a part of the team as well. So they'll actually have 16. I don't know how that works. I thought if you Google anything or any AI, it says no, there can only be 15 players, but there's somehow an exemption that's come about. I saw somebody post something the other day that they thought it was a little bit controversial that you know they've grandfathered in certain players and others are not, and so on and so forth. I think they just want to kind of curb it so going forward you don't add walk-ons. I think that's kind of where it ends up. Um, at any rate, the Jays will have 16, so there's plenty of room for both these guys on the team, obviously. So uh, school's getting ready to kick off here this week, and then I think they begin workouts again in September, and then the end of September practice starts full blown. So um, we'll get you more reports as things move on. Kind of give you an update of what we're going to do here. So one thing we're going to do this week over at BlueJayBanner.com, we have we did a thing called the quarter century team, where because we're now at the quarter century mark of this century, so we went back and pulled up players that had played in this quarter century. So that, for instance, eliminated Rodney Buford because he didn't play on a team in this quarter century. But it did include Ryan Sayers because he did, and Ben Walker and guys like that. And obviously, then you get into the Corvers and the Nate Funks and so on and so forth. But we put together a team. We put together a 15 player roster, first starting 5 and then the other 10, and then we put together a coaching staff, and then we put together a few players who we just probably would be on the practice squad, so to speak. That just didn't make the cut of the first 15. That's when it got difficult, when you got down to like 10 through, to me, and you can argue all these, and There's no right or wrong. These are all great players. I mean, think about what we've done in the last quarter century. But to me, the first five were somewhat pretty easy. I mean, especially if you look at um, historical statistics, and by the way, we tried to do it so we didn't have five point guards or five centers or whatever. We tried to set it up like a team, like you'd have a point guard and then the two, three, fours, as we know in Creighton, have always been kind of interchangeable. So we've had those, and then we had a center. All right, so it's easy to know that Kalkbrenner was on the first team there, and a guy like Nate Funk, people have kind of forgotten about him, but I mean, my goodness, go back and look at what he did when he was here. I mean, there was nights he just carried that team, offensively, defensively, rebounding. I mean, he just did it all because he was on some teams that had a lot of injuries. So there was times, and obviously remember that when they won the Valley tournament, beating a ranked Southern Illinois team, the semifinal game against Missouri State. I think it was the last time that Missouri Valley Conference had a sellout at that time. It was called Scott Trade. Um, it was a packed house, and we had Missouri State, Creighton, Southern, and I believe it was Bradley, I believe. Yeah, I mean, they were the four best and kind of the four biggest fan bases that go to those games. So it was just nuts. It was so packed. And you remember that semifinal game against Southwest Missouri. I don't know if they were Missouri State yet or not, but at any rate, Nate Funk had 33 points and just put on a show. Um, the bright lights, and again, I always said he had the sweetest jump shot I ever saw. And I've kind of compared Josh Dix's jump shot to his. Um, Nate was just a tremendous player. And so, he's on the team. Obviously, Corver and Doug, that's pretty easy, right? So you're right there. You're talking about four of the top, I don't know, what are they? What would, I think they'd be all top 10. Four of the top 10 scores in Creighton history right there. And then Ryan Sears was my point guard. He only played 1 year in that century, but to me, I just kind of, I started out. You have to look at just what they did in the century, but I mean, how can you ignore what Ryan did his whole career? I mean, he's leader in assists and steals, and just was the ultimate point guard. And I think he could fit into Mac's system, for instance, today as point guard very easily. And I know, I know when you talk Mac and you mention Ryan Sears, he's like, yeah, that dude was good. So that to me is a pretty solid. You could argue you'd want to put a different point guard in there, but the problem with that, with a lot of our point guards over the years, was other than that come to mind, other than Antoine Young was here 4 years, but Nemhard wasn't, Watson wasn't. Um, Trying to think of who else. Tyler McKinney was, but he was hurt a great portion of his career. Um, but he was a winner. Tyler was a winner, man. Josh Dolzer was here 4 years. Yeah, so he was a guy that was considered. So you had that. Josh just didn't have the offensive numbers and or firepower that a Ryan Sears had. I mean, you remember Sears. I mean, the first game I ever watched when I moved here, the first Creighton game I ever watched, he had, I think, 8 3-pointers against Wyoming. He could hit the three, and he was just a guy that really pushed. That's why he'd be so great in Mac's system. Way he pushed the ball. And I forgot. Oh, Ashworth's another guy. He only here a couple of years, so it's hard. Austin Chapman was here 4 years, so there's another guy in the mix. I mean, my post game partner, I had to put him in there, right? Uh, so there was a lot of guys to pick from there at point guard. All you could make arguments for, all you could make arguments against. Not in any of them negatively against, but just that, well, they only played 2 years, or we don't know how Watson would have performed the last part of when he got injured. And forgetting another guy, um, Marcus Zagorowski. Yeah, Marcus Zagorowski probably would have been the point guard starting on that team, had he not A, left a year early, and B, hurt his knee that one season. I mean, he was as good as it gets at point guard. So we've just been blessed with so many great point guards. So it was really difficult, especially when you got down to picking the two more add to the list. And I think we threw one in there extra, and then you had the quote unquote practice squad, and I think we had a couple on there. I mean, it was just hard, really hard to pick um, who was on that team. I think Zagorowski ended without the list in front of me. I think Zagorowski was in the second team, kind of one of the first guys we picked after the starting five. But anyway, we're going to discuss that whole list. We'll have it up here for you so you can see it. If not, go to bluejubanner.com. You can see it. It was a past article we did about a month or so ago. Another thing we're going to get into discussion here shortly after we posted and updated is Mac's recruiting classes. We've gone back to when Mac came here and went through all the recruiting classes and graded them, how they did and how the end product ended up. And that's a very interesting exercise we're going to do as well. We're going to hopefully this week or certainly by next week start having some guests on here. So we'll have some on from the volleyball program, from the basketball team, and so forth. So check all this great stuff out. We again want to thank you. By the way, I want to mention bluejubanner.com one more time. Bluejubanner.com, it's the On3 network now. And had you been a member of bluejubanner.com, you would have known about Kieran Conan coming here 2 weeks ago. We had that information from our sources. It told you that it was very possible he was going to be here. And obviously we know with school starting, he had to come soon, had to sign soon. And so we kind of had that out there. And had you been a member, you would have known all about this. This wouldn't have been a big surprise to you. Um, Same way with uh, different things with Alexa. Same thing with obviously our latest recruit signing. So, or not signing, commitment, I should say. So you would know all that information. So check it out. It's bluejubanner.com. They have a great deal for $1. You can get on there for a week. Check it out. See if you like it. All of these podcasts get posted on there, links to them. We have discussion threads about everything. We have off-topic threads. Me and a member are getting into it over my Vikings. JJ McCarthy. I mean, silly, right? Yeah, I know. But that's what message boards do. But it's a lot of fun. A lot of lighthearted jabbing back and forth and so forth. So it's really good. And our members give us great information too. I mean, there's so much out there now, so much little stuff that for myself, I don't like to live on the internet. My wife may disagree with you, but I don't like to live on the internet and got a lot of irons in the fire and a lot of things I'm doing. And it's easy to miss things nowadays. So our members are great about posting those things, and then we have a discussion about them and so on and so forth. But you're going to get up to date information as well as the replay of these podcasts where you can see them all. So thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Thanks to Infusion Brewing for once again sponsoring, and we will see you tomorrow with another edition of Blue G Banner Today.